In the cold stillness of deep space, where drifting stars whisper forgotten stories, a quiet message begins to travel, carrying a warning that will change everything. And this is the moment that forms the hook of 10 seconds. A moment that tells the reader that something powerful is coming, something that will test loyalty and memory in ways the galaxy has never seen. And as this faint signal moves across the darkness, the galaxy around it lies uneasy, filled with silent tension caused by old conflicts, uncertain alliances, and the rise of new powers that seek control of star clusters far beyond their original borders. And inside this broad and shifting universe, humanity lives with a deep and unshakable belief that kindness must be honored and harm must be answered. With unwavering resolve, a belief born many cycles earlier when a gentle and peaceful species known as the Arelun offered help to humans during a catastrophic moment that nearly ended their existence, a moment when human colonies collapsed under cosmic storms and no one else stepped forward to assist. No empire, no alliance, no neighboring world, but the Arelun arrived with open hands, guiding damaged human ships towards safe sectors, distributing food, shelter, and navigational support, and asking for nothing in return. And this selfless assistance forged a permanent bond in the human heart, a promise etched into every generation that the Arelun would forever be seen as noble friends worth protecting with everything humanity could offer. Yet while this friendship grew quietly, other forces in the galaxy changed direction as a powerful group known as the Vor Kaal Dominion expanded its reach with cold ambition, claiming territory across several star systems, rewriting trade routes, and enforcing strict control over weaker species who could not resist their influence. And this dominion noticed the Arelun eventually, observing their calm lifestyle, their non-aggressive behavior, and their refusal to bow to outside pressure, which the Dominion interpreted as weakness, a flaw that should be removed before it inspires others to resist their growing command. So they advanced with massive fleets that surrounded Arelun space, sending harsh demands that ordered the Arelun to accept Dominion rule or face consequences that could reshape their existence. And the Arelun, who had lived in peace for countless years, found themselves unprepared for such a heavy threat, realizing that negotiation would fail and resistance would break them. So, in quiet fear, they turned to the one hope they still believed in, the one ally who had never forgotten what they did long ago. And they prepared a final encrypted message, sending it through every stable channel toward human territory, in the hope that the bond formed years earlier would still matter. And while the message traveled crossing nebula, clouds, and abandoned war zones, life continued in the human outer rim, where an observation station monitored distant transmissions. And it was here, in a small control room filled with blinking consoles, that an officer detected the faint Arelun signal and opened it, reading the careful words that did not ask for war or revenge, but simply said that Arelun territory now faced danger beyond their ability to manage. And the officer felt a deep shift inside, a heavy silence that filled the room as other crew members gathered to read the message as well. And no one doubted what must happen, for the memory of Arelun kindness was a part of human identity, a moral foundation taught to children and honored in ceremonies across human space. So the station wasted no time forwarding the message to Earth Command, where leaders and strategists examined the holographic feed showing Dominion ships tightening around Arelun planets. And they understood that a choice stood before them, a choice between silence or action. And silence was something humanity could never accept when loyal friends called for help. So orders were sent across every fleet division, engines began to power up, and crew members rushed to their stations as hundreds of warships aligned in perfect patterns, preparing for a departure that would echo through history. And inside each ship the atmosphere grew intense but steady, as pilots reviewed flight paths, engineers calibrated shield grids, and navigation officers marked the coordinates of the Arelun system with unbreakable focus. And while these preparations continued, a quiet message traveled through every vessel, a simple sentence that reminded everyone why they were doing this. A sentence that carried weight older than any law, a sentence that said humanity remembers every favor. And this reminder strengthened hearts and sharpened minds as the massive fleet began to move into jump formation, glowing engines illuminating the darkness. And with a final command from the central flagship, the fleet activated its jump cores in a thunderous surge of light rushing out of human space toward the Arelun system where danger waited and where the outcome would shape the future of many worlds, leaving behind a silent trail that marked the beginning of a story far greater than anyone expected. The human fleet emerged from the jump into Arelun space, and the stars stretched around them like silent witnesses to the calm before a storm, though this storm would not be chaotic but precise, measured, and unavoidable, for humanity never acts without reason when friends are threatened. And the Vor Kaal Dominion, watching from their warships, expected hesitation, expected negotiation, but they were met with nothing, only the slow, relentless approach of ships perfectly aligned in formation, engines humming in unison, and the Arelun people, observing from their orbital stations, felt a surge of hope, their hearts remembering the kindness they once offered humanity and realizing that it would be returned in full measure, while the Dominion commanders grew uneasy, sensing that something far greater than diplomacy was about to unfold. And across the communication channels, humanity broadcast a simple message that carried weight, calm and undeniable: humans remember, and they will act. And the silence that followed was heavier than any cannon fire, for the words alone signaled a force that could not be ignored. And as the first Dominion vessels adjusted their positions in a defensive pattern, the humans held steady, deploying shield formations around the Arelun homeworld, a protective wall of light and energy designed to absorb attacks without causing unnecessary harm. And while the Dominion fired opening volleys, expecting panic, the shields absorbed every strike with efficiency, each impact reinforcing human resolve. And the Arelun watched in awe as the fleet moved like a single organism, coordinated beyond anything they had ever imagined, understanding in that moment that this was more than military power. This was loyalty made manifest, a promise kept across the expanse of years and space. And as the Dominion realized their underestimation, humanity deployed a device long kept secret, a planetary resonance array, capable of shaping energy to crack solid matter with perfect precision, but aimed only at Dominion targets, a tool of warning and control, not wanton destruction. And the first activation sent a pulse through a fortress planet, silently fracturing it, causing the Dominion to witness the devastating power humans could wield while still respecting the life of innocent worlds. And panic rippled through their command as they understood that patience and intimidation would no longer suffice. And from the flagship, the human commander broadcast another message, steady and resonant, reminding all watching species that help given is never forgotten and harm done to friends is always repaid. And across the stars, this message carried the weight of generations, rewriting fear into respect. And as the Dominion retreated from Arelun space, humans maintained their protective orbit, assisting in the restoration of cities and infrastructure, sharing technology and aid as they had been aided once before, rebuilding what had been threatened while ensuring no danger could return. And the Arelun, moved beyond words, offered quiet thanks and recognition, knowing that they were now part of a bond stronger than fear, a bond forged in action, honor, and remembrance. And the galaxy took note, as signals of human resolve spread to distant systems, teaching that the race which seemed unpredictable was actually guided by memory, fairness, and loyalty, a truth that echoed from one corner of the galaxy to another. And from that day forward, no species would underestimate humans, for their kindness was matched only by their determination. And when history looked back on these events, it recorded a simple but profound lesson: humanity does not forget, humanity does not abandon those who acted with honor, and humanity's resolve can change the fate of worlds. And as the final vessels departed Arelun orbit, leaving behind a safer, thriving system, the humans did so quietly, without celebration, letting their actions speak louder than any words, a demonstration of power that was calm, precise, and just, leaving the galaxy with a lasting understanding that every favor given, every friendship honored, and every act of loyalty could ripple through the stars and return with a force capable of shaping entire civilizations. And as the Arelun looked to the stars where the human fleet vanished, they knew that a debt was repaid, a promise fulfilled, and a future secured, a future where humanity would always remember and act when friends called, a future where memory was strength and loyalty was the most powerful force in the universe.